Ladies and gentlemen, Carrie Fisher.
George is a sadist. But like any abused child wearing a metal bikini changed to a giant slug about to die, I keep coming back for more.
Not a big deal.
What's the topic?
What do you mean, what's the topic?
I'm just kidding.
Oh. All right, here I go. Hey, folks, I'm Eugene Driscoll. Welcome to Valley Navel Gazing / Mobile Horror Companion / Two Dudes Talking Disney. There's so many things happening on this podcast tonight. I think it's December 27th, right? Am I right? Does somebody help me out? Is it December 27th?
Close enough.
December 27th, yeah. And I'm on vacation for valleyindy.org. But I do this other podcast where we talk about horror movies every week. And when I'm on vacation, I like to combine them all together. But so we're not going to be talking about local news. We're not going to be talking about even horror movies. We're going to be talking about Rogue One, the latest movie in the Star Wars franchise. And I guess right off the bat, I should introduce my co-host of the Mobile Horror Companion, gore makeup effects extraordinaire type guy, Mr. Brian Spears. What's up, Brian?
Hello.
Brian is, and we were doing a video chat. Brian is huddled. He looks like he's waiting for the bombs to drop wherever he is.
I'm mourning today in the loss of Princess Leia. I'm sorry, guys.
Spoiler alert for anybody out there.
I think we all are.
Right. So all right. So that's the person you just heard is if you're listening locally in the Lower Naugatuck Valley of Connecticut, he's familiar to you. If you're not, his name is Dave Lenart, and he's 50% of Two Dudes Talking Disney, a podcast. Dave's a Disney fanatic, specifically the theme parks. I'm surprised we even got him on this podcast because he's not in Florida or California or wherever checking out a Disney park. So Dave Lenart of Two Dudes Talking Disney of Derby, Connecticut, welcome to this weird podcast.
Thank you very much, Eugene.
You're welcome very much. Then up next, we have writer, producer, director, independent filmmaker, Mr. Glen Baisley of Light and Dark Productions, and you can find him online at lightanddark.net. Glenn, welcome back.
Hello.
Thanks. Thank you guys. You guys are really bringing your A game. Thanks for your enthusiasm. This is really, this is great for me.
Because Carrie Fisher's passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right. We'll get to it. All right. Now, Mike Lane. Mike Lane was just on a recent podcast with Brian and I that we did for the Mobile Horror Companion, and now he's back. And if you want to follow Mike Lane, get a Twitter account, go to Mike Lane Act. That's Mike Lane, spelled as it sounds, ACT. Hello, Mike Lane.
Hello, Eugene. Thanks for having me, man. I can't wait to talk about Rogue One, Daddy.
Unfortunately, Mike is unable to join us for the rest of the podcast. I'm now switching him off. All right, so let's talk about it.
Excited.
December 27th. 2016, as if 2016 wasn't bad enough. This morning, we learned we lost Carrie Fisher. She'll be opening this podcast, actually, a recording of her, not that I had interviewed her, talking about George Lucas at American Film Institute Awards a couple of years ago. I cribbed some audio, so people are going to hear that already. So I guess let's just talk. I mean, Carrie Fisher was Princess Leia in the Blues Brothers. You know, it's another one that I know her from. It was like a staple in my house growing up, Star Wars and the Blues Brothers. And then, you know, she did a lot of cocaine. We can't let out the fact or admit the fact that she had a pretty serious...
She was in the Blues Brothers, enough said.
Yeah, apparently that was part of the casting call, right? Like, how much cocaine can you consume? She dated Dan Aykroyd. You know, she was
married to Paul Simon briefly.
She was married to Paul Simon.
Had sex with Harrison Ford.
Cut. Grease is cool.
What's amazing about Carrie Fisher is how, you know, she was Princess Leia no matter what. But then later in life, she became like this Mark Twain-like figure with her one-woman shows. She was on Twitter a lot and really just a really good writer, it turned out. And I think like she said a couple of years ago, I think it was, she said that age and beauty does not equal talent, which was, good for her. She was a badass. So you guys have any thoughts? What's your summation of the life and work of Carrie Fisher?
What stood out to me, and I just read this recently because there were so many tributes on Facebook, was how she dealt with mental illness, because she had a lot of mental illness. And instead of hiding in the corner, which a lot of people with mental illness can do, she faced it head on and let people know about it. And she wrote about it and she spoke about it. And more than any character she played, I would hope that's a lasting memory of hers.
What was her greatest moment on film, guys?
Oh,
the locust scene in Blues Brothers.
The what?
The locust scene where she's underneath the bridge.
Underneath the bridge, and with the M16. I was gonna say in the Blues Brothers where she blows up. She's got the bazooka from across the street and blows them up. That was mine. But Dave's I think I know what Dave's gonna say.
Actually, I was a fan of her in The Burbs with Tom Hanks.
You stole mine. Yeah.
Yes, she was. I liked her. As a matter of fact, I watched it the other morning. That was an underrated. This is Tom Hanks before he was serious Tom Hanks. And I was a fan of her in that.
The Burbs has a crazy cult following now. That's one of those. I mean, I saw it once. I've never seen it again. But like the rest of us here, Dave, go to. I know you go to comic book conventions. A lot of guys in the panel here, we go to horror conventions. And the Burbs is one. People like Bruce Dern has started making appearances at horror conventions. And really, the Burbs is what everyone wants to talk to him about. Am I right, guys?
Yes.
All right. Anybody else?
I will also say this about Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia. I mean, let's be honest. We're 5 dudes, 9:00 at night on a podcast. I mean, I think she had a lot more to do with our growing up than we want to probably mention on here. But I mean, truth be told, she was courageous. She was a great woman. But I mean, I'm sure she's the first woman we all thought of.
Yeah, I mean, especially the metal bikini. I mean,
not to get
Dave mentioned this.
The irony too about that is that when Disney bought the franchise, one of the first things that they started to squash was people doing reproductions or putting out new likenesses of her in the bikini, because now they're going towards this whole feminist movement and they don't want to have the Princess Leia bikini out there anymore. And I know Carrie Fisher said for years she's hated that because that's what she was known for. But I'm like, it's a part of the movie. Just embrace it. It's,
In the context of the movie, you can understand why she was in the metal bikini. Jabba the Hutt was a disgusting character who kept her as a sex slave. One of my favorite Carrie Fisher moments on film was probably when she, even though she used like this weird British accent that never matched any of the other times she was in the Star Wars saga, but standing up for Tarkin, and then her arguments with Han was really good. And then I really liked her in Austin Powers because she played the straight person in the argument between Dr. Evil and his son. And she's just sitting there probably trying not to laugh on that scene. And I thought it was really good acting. And then she was great in When Harry Met Sally as well as the friend. Hell of an actor.
I'll tell you, talk about things taking a turn, though. I just saw Wonderland for the first time the other night. And I think that movie's, about 9-10 years old?
Wait, what's Wonderland? That's John Holmes one?
The John Holmes one, yeah.
Val Kilmer?
Have to do with,
and she's in there. She's got a small role in that. Plays like a very religious character that takes in John Holmes' girlfriend, and then when she realizes, John Holmes comes in and has sex with his girlfriend in her bathroom, she freaks out. But anyway, you look at her then, and the differences in 9-10 years, and just the way she looks. And man, there was definitely a change. She looked really pretty good for her age 9-10 years ago. And you could just see a big change in the last 9-10 years, which leads me to bring something up about the movie.
Can I just interrupt? Let me interrupt for 1 second. I just want to say that, Glenn, since we started recording this, you look a lot worse in the last 5 minutes.
Thanks. But, the point I'm trying to make, though, is, as the big nerd and I read up everything, every little nugget I can about these movies out there, one of the biggest there's a bazillion rumors out there about Episode 8, the next Star Wars movie that she's in will now be the last one. One of the biggest rumors is there's a possibility that, Leia gets sick or wounded. So not my speculation. Now I'm just wondering. I'm like, wow, was maybe behind the scenes, maybe was there something going on, and that was the first sort of step in kind of writing her character out. But it's going to be interesting in general to see how they handle that movie. Whether or
Are
not
you saying she was like they had a hit out on her?
Yeah, no, what I'm saying is, was
saying?
she sick behind the scenes, and that they just happened to put that? It seems like a big coincidence. If that proves to be true, the rumor that she's sick or wounded in the movie, it's an awful big coincidence that now, here she has passed away. Did they know something? Did she have some health issues? Perhaps that they.
I would hope they wanted the story to expand to a new generation with new characters, not that they tried to kill her, as your theory is told.
No, I didn't say they killed her. I'm saying that maybe it was put in there as a safeguard in case something happened.
All right, let Dave speak. He was trying to say something.
I do know that some of the early, like you say, leaked episode 8 things was that she was going to be seriously injured and incapacitated. So again, I would say maybe, years of hard drug use, alcohol abuse, it takes you toll. And I mean, although going back to the topic of Rogue One, seeing it the other day, I mean, she looked pretty good in Rogue One. So kind of shocked that she just dropped dead, just this close after it came out.
Peter Cushing still alive. All right, so that's Carrie Fisher. So let's get to the topic at hand. Rest in peace, Carrie Fisher. An icon. But Rogue One. Maybe the first thing we'll do to sort of introduce this is I'll give you guys a second to think about it. But let's rate the movie out of 5 stars. 5 being the highest, and adjust accordingly. So Brian, you saw it today. I think with what? Did you take both your niece and nephew?
I went with my brother didn't have to work today, so he went. My sister-in-law went, and my 3-year-old nephew, which might not have been the greatest idea, and my 10-year-old niece.
All right, so out of 5 stars, how many stars are you giving Rogue One, a Star Wars story?
I think a 3 right now.
A 3, okay. Dave Lenart, you saw it before it opened, right? You texted me from the theater or something like that.
Yeah, we went Thursday night, 7:00, as with all new Star Wars movies. Me, my father, my brother, and Buddy, one of the guys from the Firehouse in Derby. He's my Star Wars sidekick. I don't think I could rate it on a scale of stars. I like rating it and putting it in place of the other Star Wars movies.
All right, you contrarian.
Yes, obviously better than
anyone could have done that.
I'll go 4. How's that? 4.5. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I liked it. It was a different feeling than the other Star Wars movies.
Wait, don't go too far ahead, because let's go back and do the star thing, and then we'll come back and expand upon.
Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
That's all right. All right, Glenn. Now this is the guy I really got to wrangle. Is the Bays here? Glenn.
Either 4 or 4.5.
Oh, actually, I'm surprised. How many times?
Thank you, Glenn.
Glenn, how many times have you seen the movie?
Twice in regular good old-fashioned 2D and once in 4DX.
Oh, we gotta revisit this. Okay, Mike Lane.
4.5. It's the movie of the year. I loved it. Loved it.
A movie of the year.
Movie of the year.
Here we go. All right.
You know why it's the movie of the year? Because I left it and it stuck with me. And not too many movies I've seen this year has done that, but Rogue One did. Now, maybe there's some baggage with that because I'm such a big Star Wars fan.
Wait, shut up. You're going on. Hold on a second. I gotta rate it. Let me rate it. We'll come back to this.
All right.
Chaos.
I do agree. Movie of the year.
Thank you, Glenn.
I'll agree with him on that.
Thank you. Great minds think alike.
I'm gonna give it I'm gonna go with Brian. I'm gonna give it 3 stars. I gotta tell you, I was almost gonna say 2.5, but I think that's just to be a jerk.
Not even an extra half for Carrie Fisher.
Let's go to Dave. Let's go to the first guy I cut off, Dave. How do you rate it in the Star Wars films?
I mean, I don't rate the 6 films individually. I rate the prequels, obviously sub to the first 3, the original trilogy. And I put it in with the original trilogy. I mean, it was the original trilogy. People are asking, where does this movie fit into the Star Wars universe? Is it like episode 3.5? And I tell everyone it's more like episode 3.99. And for those of you who have gone and seen it, go back and watch A New Hope, Star Wars, whatever you want to call it. Again, because to me, it makes the movie have more of an urgency to it.
Makes it better. It makes episode 4 better.
Now,
It
all
does.
right. So, Dave, now what about comparing it to last year's? And actually, you and Glenn were on a podcast I did a year ago for Valley Navel Gazing when what that other one came out. What was it called? Force Awakens.
Force Awakens.
Sorry. So, is this better than Force Awakens?
I thought it was better than Force Awakens.
I agree.
All right, let's go to the bays.
Yeah,
Glenn,
definitely better
what
than
were your
Force Awakens.
better than definitely better? Like no compare, like Head and Shoulders better.
Head
Like
and Shoulders better. It's definitely a whole nother level above Force Awakens.
like compare what like Jaws compared to Jaws 3D.
The first thing when I walked out that I thought of is it felt authentic.
Let me just interrupt. I should just say that Brian Spears is giving Glenn the middle finger as he talks.
Totally disagree with this.
I felt that the new Force Awakens I enjoyed, really loved the movie. But when I look at it in comparison to this one felt authentic. It feels like in some ways, if you added some film grain to it, it could have been shot back in the day, whereas Force Awakens felt like a modern movie.
All right, Mike Lane, what you started to share your thoughts, Mike, and I rudely cut you off. So go ahead.
Rank it along with the other movies. You mean?
Yeah, I don't. What do you want from me? Like whatever I said. Aren't you taking notes? Yeah,
Well,
rank it. Tell me your reaction to the movie. Is it better than The Force Awakens? And where does it rank in the whole? Whatever you want to talk about. Don't feel compelled to follow my questions.
Oh, okay.
Whatever.
I still have to process it, but right now.
Wait, what do you mean you got to process it?
I have to process it. Like
you just walk out of the theater?
I know.
That's why you see it 3 to 5 times at least.
It's not.
There are different emotions at least different emotions I go through when
It's not Fellini.
It's what I feel right after I've seen it.
Lane's
and
high.
then how I feel a couple of days later. So
Okay.
It's been what? I don't know, like a week and a half. But right now, and then I'll have to watch the other ones. But right now, it's better than The Force Awakens, and it might be better than Return of the Jedi. I have to watch them again and compare.
I'd have to chime in and say I definitely think it's better than Jedi. I think it's almost on par with A New Hope, and Empire's still the best.
Wow.
Nothing's better than Empire.
Wait, and Dave, did you dodge that question when we asked you where it ranks?
I said I put it with the original trilogy. I view them as one. I don't like separating.
Just editor's note here. I'm looking out my window across the Naugatuck or Housatonic River to Shelton's Route 110. Dave, there's emergency lights of some kind across the way, just so you know. All right.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. All right, now let's go to this Spears guy.
All right. First off,
who's stewing.
Yeah, it was a good movie. It's not the best movie of the year. These guys, go see real movies. All right, guys, go
movie of the year. I stick with it.
And here's the other thing.
That.
Wait. One at a time. One at a time.
A good movie. I'll say. The way I feel about Force Awakens is there was so much more nostalgia to that. It really, I don't know. I love that movie. I thought it was great. It really inspired me inside. It made me feel happy. This one, I knew how it was going to end. While it still was compelling, I didn't find it as fun. I did not find it as fun. And it just didn't, I don't know. It felt Star Wars-y. But I mean, The Force Awakens, it pulled at my heartstrings more.
Yeah, but we knew how the prequels were going to end too. And this is 1,000
I don't
times
count that.
better
I never
than
even
prequels.
seen all the prequels, guys. I mean, they're not even.
Lucky
they're
you.
not good movies.
Brian, you're right about it not being fun, and that's probably
But Mike, let me just say this. I'll say is my final thought on this is The Force Awakens. The more I watched it, the more it all right, it's not that great of a movie. It was that first initial movie I saw. So how Mike Lane needs to stew.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying maybe if I see Force Awakens, now listen, I've got a job and I've got a life and I've got things to do. I'm not going to go to the theater again. The last movie I saw in the theater was the last Star Wars movie.
Jeez, what a total insult to the base.
Well, I mean, come on. He just goes to, I do things,
That's not true.
So, I'm not going to go see it. But once it comes out again, wherever the formats are, when I can watch it again, I'll probably like that movie more upon viewing it. Whereas The Force Awakens loses the nostalgia feeling. This, I think, will gain it the more I watch it. But I'm not going to go to a movie 90 times to watch that, to have that happen.
I agree with Brian when he says that it wasn't a fun movie, and that's probably why I liked it so much. It wasn't a fun movie. This was an adult version of Star Wars. This was dark, this was bleak, and it actually told what a war really is. In the original trilogy, as great as that is, the good guys did good things and the bad guys did bad things. In Rogue One, the good guys do bad things in order to further the greater good, and that's what real war is like. And I think that's why it stuck with me so much.
It was surprising that they took some liberties in, opening scene when you have Cassian. He, kills the informant because he gets nervous that the guy's, going to be left behind and unveil what, the plans that they have.
All right, let me ask you a question.
Set in motion.
And this is, of course, we'll put
Same thing Han Solo would have done. That's all. I'm sorry.
But wait a second, because that
I don't think Han Solo would have done that.
I was confused by that.
He shot Greedo first.
Yeah, but Greedo was a pure bad guy.
You don't know that?
Greedo wasn't that bad. He was kind of cute.
He
Come
was
on.
trying to work.
Greedo
was like Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Yeah,
Wait,
Glenn,
who
stop
said he
your.
was cute. Hold on.
That
Can
was
we go
me.
back to that?
That was me. But Glenn, what's with your
That's
Greedo
disturbing.
bias? Just because he looks.
He was there. Look,
guys
he's
maybe trying to
an
earn a
established
living.
Gangster there to kill Han.
But wait, let me just ask you though, because I was confused by that part when what's his name, the kid from what did he make? E2 Tambien? What was his? Yeah, that guy.
Diego Luna.
That guy. When he shoots that guy, I was like, "What?" That threw me for a loop. I thought. No, wait, hold on, Glenn. Let me just, Glenn. I'm gonna reach through the screen and slap you. Let me just give me a second.
Go ahead.
I was under the impression that the informant had actually brought those stormtroopers. That's why they were closing in on him, and that's why he killed him, because that guy was a traitor. Am I wrong?
No. He just killed him to prevent him from getting back and spilling the beans.
Right.
They had to climb out of that alley, and the guy, if you look, the guy was, something with an arm. I don't know if he was missing the arm or his arm. He said, I can't climb with this. And that was when he decided it's better off to waste.
But all right, so here's like my thoughts on Rogue One. I thought the movie was flat. It was dark, but what really got to me, and maybe this is just, I'm really nitpicking, but when a Star Wars movie begins, I want to hear John Williams' original score, and I want to see a scroll. At some point, this movie doesn't have that.
Now, they did that for a reason, and I agree with you.
And that's just, to me, that's... Wait, Glenn, just give me a second. Because you do that, then I don't know what I'm throwing... what was I going to... Go ahead, Glenn. Share.
They did that specifically for a reason, and the reason why is they said they want to set these movies as separate them from the traditional Skywalker saga movies, which is now you have 7, it'll be 8 and 9, and so they decided they would have a new opening. It would never have the crawl. It's not the same without the opening crawl. I completely agree with you, and unless you're living in a cave and you don't realize this isn't one of the regular series movies, I think they should have had the crawl. I think it's not the same without it.
So, and I thought there was a bunch of emotional sort of high points in the movie that didn't hit me. I guess like what Brian was saying, it just didn't strike me because it didn't have that music. I just thought changing the soundtrack was really distracting to me and altered the tone of the movie. I also think it had too many characters.
Way too many.
There was just, some of these guys were interchangeable. And I thought, I don't know what the actual, I heard there were reshoots. We all read there were reshoots. I don't follow it close enough to know exactly what they were. But the end of the movie, where all of a sudden the guy from The Night Of, who's a great actor, that was a great show on HBO. The pilot. It just struck me that all of a sudden, what was he getting noticed off The Night Of, and they expanded his part greatly? Because all of a sudden he's got to run around to find some kind of data comm, something or other, and like he's looking for a Commodore 64, and suddenly he's playing Paperboy. I was confused at that part, and it just was. I just thought there were too many characters, and I thought he was sort of interchangeable with the guy from E2 Tambien. They just seemed, I just was getting lost in all these. And then the heroine, what's her name, Glenn? What's her name?
Jyn Erso.
I was completely not involved in her story whatsoever, and I think. I don't know. When I walked out of it, I took my 6-year-old, and at the end, Glenn, one thing I'll say, I'm going on a tangent here. A year ago, we talked about Rogue One when we had a discussion about The Force Awakens, and you said, well, it's like the Dirty Dozen. The ad makes it look like it's the Dirty Dozen, and I ripped into you being like, well, that ad does not make it look like it. You were right. It was like the Dirty Dozen. The fact that everybody dies.
Right.
But, so I walked...
You probably should have... You probably should have threw a spoiler alert.
It'll be at the top. We'll put it at the top of the episode. Carrie Fisher has passed away, and everybody dies in Rogue One. But walking out of the theater, I said to my son, I was like, "Oh, what'd you think?" He was like, "I liked it." I was like, "Well, what'd you like better, this one or The Force Awakens?" And he was like, "The Force Awakens."
Because it's a better movie.
And I looked and
Oh, it's more fun.
I was like, yeah, I think so too. And I said, why? Why do you think The Force Awakens was better? And he's like, it was more exciting. There was more going on.
There was more going on.
And
the
there-
freaking Millennium Falcon.
Yeah. It lacked some of that. I mean, I'm glad they didn't go the like camp or make it like sort of a lighthearted comedy, but it just kind of fell flat for me. Which is not to say it's not a good movie. It's better than a lot of the movies I see. But I wasn't. I don't know. I like the fact they didn't use the music. That sort of surmises or summarizes the whole problem I had with the movie.
When I was 6 years old, I liked Return of the Jedi better than Empire Strikes Back. I found Empire Strikes Back slow and boring when I was that age. I liked Jedi because it had the Ewoks and because it had more action. But the older I got, the more I appreciated Empire. And I don't know what your son is going to be like when he's older, but I think maybe the reason why he liked Force Awakens better, it was definitely more of a fun movie, and there was a lot more action and a lot more things to cheer for. This was nothing there wasn't that much to cheer for. Because it was bleak, it was dark. The heroes got their asses kicked in this movie.
I got to say that I liked Star Wars. The Empire Strikes Back is my favorite Star Wars flick. I thought The Force Awakens was better than this. I enjoyed The Force Awakens more than Rogue One. I thought it had a more epic feel. And maybe the fact that I'm waiting for the next one. It builds that epic part of it. But let's talk about, all right, Forrest Whitaker is in the movie.
Can I just?
I was gonna say, go ahead, Brian. And
I just want to say one thing about like they showed too much Darth Vader.
What?
No.
Yeah.
What?
No.
But, let me.
First off, when he comes out at the very end and he's
That's
swinging,
amazing.
no, it's not. It's
the
the
Could have been in those.
and it wasn't
prequels.
even as good. It was scarier in Star Wars.
Wow, that was phenomenal. That
No.
scene. Get out of here.
Oh.
Cut him off the podcast.
Well, you guys are also the guys that said this is the greatest movie of the year. Like,
Yes, and
you
we're
guys are
correct in that.
nerds. You guys haven't seen anything of substance.
Okay, wait a second.
Oh.
This is the mobile
You
horror.
don't even know what E2 Beyond, man, whatever that movie was that you
saw
just
E2 Tambien, and I like that. Okay. This is called the Mobile Horror Companion, and that scene with Vader at the end was a horror movie.
Oh, come on, man. Why do you got to? Oh, come on.
Hold
Hold on. We got to take a break.
Horrifying.
Hold on. Start that thought over because now I gotta cut all that out.
Without the effing word.
Oh my God. Okay, sorry. All right, this is called the mobile. I got excited.
Actually, it's not called the mobile horror. We're doing a bunch of different podcasts here.
In one of Eugene's podcasts, it's called the Mobile Horror Companion, and that scene at the end with Vader was horror movie like. It was terrifying. It was great. It was scary. It made Vader scary. He was this killer.
I disagree.
I agree 100% with you.
Thank you, David.
I think
It was also like
that,
how tall was Vader in that?
Wait,
scene?
Brian,
5'7"?
let Dave speak and then you speak.
I think that was the scene every Star Wars fan wanted to see. The moment where Darth Vader unleashed his full dark side and just went on a killing spree.
Yep.
And I thought that was probably the best scene of the movie, is that when he whipped out that lightsaber and you heard him breathing and just started throwing people around, choking them, slashing them.
And the rebels.
I just find it hilarious that, here in this movie where they have spaceships, they couldn't have emailed it. They had to use a USB. I don't know what the technology's like there, but I thought that was the scene of the movie.
The rebels were a non-profit. I just want to say, like the Valley Indy, the rebels are non-profit.
Let's just talking about the prequels for a second and how much I hate them.
Wait, Glenn, can I just share one observation about that end scene with Darth Vader? And this is another weird one, and I'm gonna fully acknowledge it's weird. When Darth Vader starts to, maybe it was like right before, there's one scene where Darth Vader walks forward. And I'm a fat man, right? I'm like
it doesn't look right.
I'm like size 48 jeans. Like I understand like the way his body moves, like
Like
usually
he was sashaying.
right, the way his like Darth
Yeah.
Vader is usually his gut, whatever that is, that red thing, that box he wears, and his belt, it stays perfectly still because he's got abs of steel. But the way Darth Vader walked is like, I'm like, that looks like
literally.
that looks like
also under his helmet. There's a big gap.
But it
didn't
looks
look
like,
right.
but the way it moved, his stuff was moving all over the place. It looked like me. I was trying to like stuff my beer gut into it. I'm like, Darth Vader got fat. What is going on here? And that, that's another thing. It totally threw me off. I was like, ugh. But anyway, all right, go ahead.
So yeah, a couple things I want to talk about. Jumping on you mentioned that you mentioned. The first one is that what I liked about that scene is after the disappointment at the end of the prequels, where you finally get Vader, and it's like no, and it was the biggest wasted scene of all time. But that Anakin is, aside from being this whiny little pissant, the entire movie, he's this badass Jedi, but you never get to see him as Vader. Knowing the fact that this takes place before the original movie A New Hope, and that we're probably never going to see Vader again unless they do a standalone movie with Vader, it was nice to see Vader in full form. It's the Anakin that we should have seen in the prequels as Vader, that they were delivering as fan service. Because if you look at the original trilogy, he just kind of walks around like a little bit of fencing with Obi-Wan. There's really nothing to it. And to me, it never made sense. I'm like, well, you saw how powerful he was in the prequels. And then it's like, okay, well, maybe he's older, but I liked that they actually showed what he could do, and he still had that as Vader. Now, a couple of things you mentioned about the reshoots and about the costume. So being the geek that I am, I've been reading up big time. And from my understanding, I don't know if this is 100% true.
Don't say don't quote me on a podcast.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that. But Kathleen Kennedy had said that when she saw the original cuts of the movie, she's saw Vader in a couple of different scenes. She's like, yeah, no. There were two changes they made. One is she felt that it was too dark and they added a little more humor in it because it was too gritty. The other one is, from my understanding from things I've read on the internet, if they're true, one of the differences were they added in that Vader scene at the end to make,
because it made no sense.
Well, no, and I because Vader didn't have a whole lot to do originally from my understanding, in the first draft of the movie. Like, if you go look at the trailers, if you watch all the trailers after we get off the podcast,
there's like 45 scenes that didn't make it into the movie.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
And one of the big things, the entire ending was originally different. If you look at the earlier trailers, it shows Jyn Erso with the Death Star plans running down the beach. That whole ending was completely changed.
Hey, let me ask you a question, because I was having problems logistically. I thought Darth Vader was going to make an appearance earlier in that climactic battle scene where, what's her name, the boring heroine, is trying to do whatever, download AOL. Where was Darth Vader? I thought Darth Vader was in that tall building, hanging out with.
No, he was on Mustafar in his home there.
Okay, Dave has inadvertently brought up another great point. How many different? I mean, it's like we're on this planet.
Too many worlds.
We're on that planet. We're on this planet. Now we're on that planet. Like, I lived. My son, like, he was so confused. I'm just like, don't worry, Jack. None of this matters.
But you know what? Oddly enough, they labeled every single planet, including Yavin from the original movie, but they never titled Mustafar. Right. Which is where he died or was reborn. In
like,
Revenge of the
I
Sith.
kind of got that, but I guess there was one structure. I thought at the end of the movie, like, oh, the sun came up and now the lava went away or whatever. But I was confused as to that. All right, let's talk about another thing that everyone's talking about. These bringing these dead guys to life.
That was well, I mean, there was numerous ones in the movie, numerous cameos from other Star Wars characters. For those of you who don't know, and again, being the Star Wars nerd that I am, when they were moping through the Lucasfilm archives, they came across unused footage from A New Hope, especially the Death Star attack scene. So adding in, Red Leader, adding in Gold Leader, I thought that was those were nice touches because it gives a lot of continuity to the film. They took the part where they showed Red 5 getting blown up, so that explains why Luke ended up with that call sign. But I don't know, the Princess Leia at the end was pretty spectacular. The Grand Moff Tarkin. You could tell, I think as time went on, you could tell that it was CGI, but they did bring a lot of back from the dead.
I thought they should with Grand Moff talking because it really got distracting after pretty much 3 lines he said to me. Yeah. They should have kept it where it was his reflection in the window.
All right, because I was going to say,
he always looked at that window because that looked all right.
And all right, I didn't know we were talking about because I'm confused as the character names. Actually, I got
Peter
it.
Cushing.
Peter Cushing.
Peter Cushing. Sorry,
I actually never saw Rogue One. This is all a lie. But so who? All right, so we had CGI Princess Leia. We had CGI Peter Cushing Vampire Hunter. And now who else was CGI? I know there's like the random people that was the woman in the white who was like leading the
Mon Mothma.
That's a new actress. Yeah. It's a lookalike.
But she looked all right. See,
But she was also in one of those prequels, I think.
She was in Revenge of the Sith, but her scenes were cut. She's only on the disc.
I had problems with Peter Cushing. I had problems with cartoon Peter Cushing. I didn't really think it was necessary.
What I've been learning about reading up on this is that I never heard this term before, the uncanny valley. Anybody hear of that?
No.
The uncanny valley is the revulsion one feels when they look at a likeness of a human being that isn't exactly right. So what you're feeling by looking at Peter Cushing is called the uncanny valley. And the only reason I know this is because I've been reading reviews and listening to podcasts about Rogue One, and everybody's mentioning the uncanny valley.
I just thought it reminded me of like playing Grand Theft Auto. You know what I mean? He looked like a computer game.
So I didn't have as much issue with some people saying, oh, they thought it was disrespectful, because I think it played an intricate part of the plot. It would have been weird not to have Grand Moff Tarkin in it. As much as I liked the lines of dialogue, I thought made sense. Having him on camera so much, it was a little distracting because, I agree with Brian. It didn't look right. More so, I thought Princess Leia did not look right at all.
Her nose was huge.
Her head it looked like a giant head. Something was not right with the way they did the CGI.
Okay, and then the other thing people are talking about, if you go on Reddit and look up Rogue One, there was a post plastered across the top of Reddit being like, I'm so sick of the liberal policies of Hollywood and specifically Rogue One, where you have all these ethnic characters and they're probably Islamic, and here they are, the bad guys are the white guys, and it's the rebels are who we are cheering for, and it's anti-American, et cetera, et cetera. Did anybody react like that when they saw the movie?
Nah, didn't even think about it.
Yeah, no.
I was glad there was a cast that featured all people of color and women, considering all of the other movies didn't. It's a big universe out there, so why not show some diversity? I have no problem with that. First and foremost, the story was great, and they cast incredible actors in these roles. So I think it's great, and it inspires a whole new generation of kids who look like those heroes, and it will do nothing but good things. My nephew's 9, and I saw the movie with him, and he's a little white boy. And not once did he say, gee, Uncle Mike, I sure wish there was a white man in this movie as one of the heroes. I feel left out. No, he said this movie was great. And that's it. That's what matters.
Well,
but it's awesome that there's diversity in it, without a doubt.
To what Brian said earlier, too, about it being too many characters, I do agree.
That was
with
me,
that.
Man. You son.
I'm sorry. Eugene said, I think that if they could have scaled it back a little bit, they could have given a little bit more backstory. Having come off watching Force Awakens, where you got a sense of why Finn turned against the Empire and did the things he did. Okay, Bodhi, who's the pilot, was a defector from the Empire, but you really didn't know why he defected. They seem to have a little more backstory for all the characters except some ones that got the most screen time.
I kind of think the movie just should have been about the dude with the stick, the blind guy. What is he? Man.
I am one with the Force. The Force is with me.
That guy was great, and his buddy.
He was awesome.
His buddy with the whole movie should have been those.
KQS though was awesome. The droid.
The droid was amazing. I thought he was. I loved him. I thought he was funny.
Yeah.
I was actually sad out of all the characters that died. I felt bad because he died.
So I think they shouldn't have killed him off. They could have brought him back for another movie.
I loved that everybody died. I loved it. It shows how brutal the Empire was, and that in war not everybody survives. And the way the droid died again was horrifying. That was such a terrible way to go. He just got constantly shot at by stormtroopers that hit things in this movie. So they must have really degraded between this one and Episode 4.
I didn't care that anyone died because I didn't care about him really. So that was the other problem. I mean, again, I liked the movie, but I don't know.
Yeah. What about? There's one thing I
I-
want to ask you guys because I started to bring it up. Forrest Whitaker plays like he's
Saw
from Battle.
Gerrera.
Oh, right. I was
I
going to
thought
name.
he was one of the weakest links.
I again talking back earlier about the reshoots. They say that his parts were extensively reshot, and if you looked at the trailers, what he was saying, what he was doing,
Yeah.
and I don't get why someone who's been fighting the fight and being the man for all these years just said, you know what, get off the planet. I'll stay here as the boulders come flying at me.
But he imprisons the rebels. It's like
Right.
That I was
I
was
get
really
it.
confused
I get
by
it
him,
why
'cause-
he's been doing this rebellion thing for so long. I think he just had it.
Just
He
had
was
it.
tired of living. And the fact that he imprisoned the rebels is that he didn't know that they were rebels. He needed to find out who they were at first. It breeds paranoia being in this rebellion.
if anything, though,
If it truly was a Star Wars movie, though, he would have came back at the end and saved the day.
the one scene they should have omitted in the entire movie was that giant fat squid thing or whatever the
I
hell
agree.
it was.
Yep.
That
I'm with
scene
you.
was just stupid.
Well, I didn't get
And that's
the.
one
I
of the
guess
reasons why I don't give it a 5.
I was thrown off. Like I could not. The movie in my mind, I just couldn't get back into it. It couldn't recover, from the music. And then I thought Forrest Whitaker is going to be like a main character, and they make him this big thing. I have no idea about his backstory, his character's backstory. And I thought Forrest Whitaker was great in it, but then
Gotta
all
go
the.
back and watch Attack of the Clone Wars cartoon.
I'm not going to watch a cartoon, Glenn.
I know.
But
just
then, but I did watch The Killing Joke. I thought that was the worst thing I saw in
Yeah, it was
years. That was
terrible.
terrible.
comic was great. Cartoon was horrible.
I heard even the guy who wrote the comic has said it's terrible. But
Yeah.
but then I just felt like they had wasted a good 30 minutes of the movie because none of that mattered. It was just like that whole the whole part of the movie was just to show that the Death Star we're not quite blowing up the planet yet. We're just blowing up little cities. It's like, why couldn't they just done that in 5 minutes? Why did I need all that Forrest Whitaker stuff?
Well, it brought the Rogue One squad together. So maybe that's why, and it kind of gave a little bit of Jin's backstory.
Did anybody else? Well, I thought he wasn't necessary to her backstory. I just found him to be like a fluff character. Did anybody think of Dennis Hopper in Blue Velvet with the
I
Forrest?
was just going to say that.
What was that? What was his? What he has asthma? What was that about?
I think he's a parallel to Darth Vader.
Oh no,
a guy
if I may, but in his duelings with Darth Vader, at one point Vader slices his legs off and injures him. And what you see is what's left of him after having dueled Vader.
Is that in one of the books?
It's in one. I believe it's in Catalyst.
Okay.
The injuries that he sustained were from a run-in with
And
Vader.
I know when Rebels returns this season, that character is going to be in, I think, the premiere of Rebels when it comes back.
And maybe this is why I don't think that this movie was that great, because I didn't read every damn book.
I just want to say too a couple things I liked. I thought for cameos, if you will, again we talked earlier about the red leader, the gold leader in it. The two thugs, Ponda and I can't remember the other guy's names from the cantina scene in A New Hope. They bumped into them on. All right, that was kind of funny. For the Star Wars Rebels fans, Chopper is in the base on Yavin 4, and the Ghost is actually fighting in the battle.
And the Ghost is from Rebels.
Yes, from Rebels 2.
And they actually call out one of the characters' name as a general.
Right, and in the show in Ghost, she's not that far yet. Assuming it's her, it could also have been her father. But I thought some of those tie-ins were good. Obviously my other love of my life, my parent company, Walt Disney, there is involved, so they try to link it together because it sells the most toys. But I thought adding those two guys in, the scene just where they bumped into each other to show that they've always been like that. Well, was kind of a good cameo.
Oh, and so Dave, you just let's talk about one more topic quickly, and then we'll call it a night. Toys. I was looking. It's December 27th. We just got done with Christmas, and I was looking for toys, Rogue One toys, to get my son. And I don't know if like Glenn is going in and buying all the toys everywhere because there's just nothing.
No, I haven't
like
bought one of them.
Glenn, I mean, my son got like 1 million of these like crappy die cast like little Millennium Falcon type things that you're supposed to put on your finger. It was obviously like just the junk that was left. What are the toys people are going for?
Because I do like to look at them online, but I haven't collected in years. But
While
it doesn't
naked.
look like they put out as much stuff for Rogue One a fraction of what was out for Force Awakens. I mean, they do have like the 12-inch action figures, and I think there's a smaller action figures, but yeah, they didn't go crazy like they did for the previous movie.
Glenn, what T-shirt are you wearing?
What's that?
What
Hannibal
T-shirt are you
Lecter.
wearing? Oh, Hannibal Lecter. All right, Dave. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I agree. I don't think they put out as many toys, but I think I would think too. Part of the reasoning is, we knew the characters from the Force Awakens. We were waiting to see the characters come back, so you had a little bit more recognition. The ships are out there. The X-wings, the TIE fighters. Some of the diehard Star Wars fans have been complaining because you introduced new stormtroopers, new ships that weren't in the original
Black Stormtroopers
series.
were awesome looking.
The Death Troopers, yeah.
Oh, those
and
things are awesome.
But those are probably the most popular selling toy is the Death Troopers. But I would agree that you did not see the toys that you saw in the previous for the Force Awakens.
And the other thing I did not see in the Force Awakens, and it was sorely missed, a lightsaber.
Well, it wasn't supposed to be about Jedi.
I know, but come on.
The closest we get was the monk.
IP man.
Well, Vader had a lightsaber.
That's true.
Vader, yeah.
All right,
But
so
I don't
wait.
count that scene.
I said that would be the
Before we
last.
jump off,
What's the
Eugene
IP
as a
man?
father,
Wait, what?
Mike as an uncle,
Huh?
Brian as an uncle. You have to take your niece's nephew's son down to, this is my endorsement, Times Square has a Regal Cinema
great.
where you can see Rogue One in 4DX. And you're like, well, what the hell is 4DX? It is probably the most amazing experience that you'll ever see as a movie. You sit in the seats physically move as you're jetting around in the X-Wing fighter. You feel the wind on you. When they're on the planet when it's raining, it rains on you. When there's an explosion, there's puffs of fog that come up. When the laser blasts are firing past you, feel puffs of air shoot past your head. It is phenomenal. It's and it's in 3D. It's a full four-dimensional sight, touch, sound, smell experience for Rogue One. It's absolutely amazing. $30 a ticket. It is one of the best movie experiences I've ever seen. It's like going to a theme park and watching the movie.
I will never do that.
Yeah. You know what I'll do?
It's phenomenal.
I'll take my niece down the street on her bicycle, and we'll go have fun.
Yeah, Glenn, get out. Go into the woods, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it rains out, Glenn, just go outside.
Yeah, what do you do? What do you do when you're sitting there in the movie theater? Now you're soaking
Now,
wet.
If anybody that knows me knows that I hate going to the city. So for me to see that in the city, it was that good.
Times Square has certainly changed. All right, guys, that's it. It's 10 o'clock, and you guys got lives to live. So I want to thank you all for being on, and we'll see you next time on this here podcast. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take it easy, guys.
Thank you.